So I know that you mentioned as a value investor, you make very infrequent bets, and when you do, you really go in big. Could you give us a little insight into what's your daily life like? Obviously, you're not buying and selling every day. So do you constantly just think about stuff, analyze new companies? What do you do on a daily basis, kind of as a value investor?
Well, I mean, I think you would do well as a value investor if you enjoy reading and enjoy spending time with yourself. Those are good traits. And while human contact is good, I enjoy those things. And so I mean, a few years back, I was having dinner with Charlie Munger, and he'd mentioned that he would love to see long histories of General Motors, and he said he thought that would be a great class to teach. I said, well, you can see long histories of the business in something like Value Line. So he said, no, that's not what I'm talking about. He's saying, I want a 100-year history of GM, okay, and I want 100 years of numbers for GM. So where can I get that? And I wasn't sure where he can get that. And so, but recently some kids at Boston University, I was talking to them. I was actually doing an analysis of American Express, and they said, oh yeah, they had annual reports from 1950 on Amex. So I just asked them, hey, can you get old reports of General Motors? And they said, yeah, we can get all the reports from the beginning. So they sent me a Dropbox file which had every GM annual report, I think from like 1911 onwards. And so I emailed Charlie's assistant. I said, hey, Charlie mentioned this to me a few years ago. I have the reports. If he wants them, I'll send you the link. So she said he's very excited to receive them. Okay, so then I sent her the Dropbox link, and then she wrote back. This was just before the Berkshire meeting, and then she wrote back saying that I've been instructed to finish printing them before we leave for Omaha. Okay, and it was like 24,000 pages. It's a lot of pages, right? And so she said, I'm busy printing. Okay, and so this was on a Tuesday. I think normally Charlie leaves for Omaha on a Thursday, and I saw him in Omaha on Friday. So when I saw him on Friday, I said, so did you start reading the GM reports? And then he goes into this whole thing about the nature of the company and all the things in the early years and this and that, and he was plowing through them. And then I met him again after that, and so he was picking up insights into GM. They have I don't think they're looking at making investment GM or anything like that. I think this is pure curiosity to understand how the world works, right? And so I said, okay, let's do this myself. I said, let's start myself reading GM reports from 1911 to see if what insights can be gleaned, because I'd never done that. I've never picked up the 1919 Coke report, for example. And so I started reading General Motors, and I actually got through to the 50s now. I've gone through from 1911 to the early 50s. And my God, it was fascinating, because I think the thing is that it's like that a asteroid's coming in, but they don't know it because it's like 1928 and everything looks great. And then, the crash comes, and then even that crash is nothing, because in 1932, from 1929 to 1932 really crash. And then even that's nothing, because all through the 30s, you're going through really tough times. And then like in 1941, 42, the company is informed by the US government not to produce any passenger cars. So from 1942 till the end of the war, GM is producing 0 cars. They're producing airplanes and all kinds of things for the military, but no cars. And then you get to 1946, and the country has not had a single new automobile produced for like 4 years. So this is just amazing history. And then, of course, you can see the revenues and the cash flows, and the brands are being built, and all the different they introduced the automatic transmission and all of that. So I actually gained a lot of appreciation that you get a much deeper, richer insight into these businesses with some of that reading. You can also get some of the same insights from reading biographies or autobiographies. Like I'm sure Warren and Charlie read. Goizera wrote a book, I'd Love to Buy a World of Coke, and then the previous guys at Coke had written several books on Coke. So you could go back and look at the history of the company through those biographies and such as well. So so I think that if you can set your life up in a manner which gives you large chunks of time to do reading, but reading not from the context of I'm going to make an investment, reading from the context of just getting better at knowing how the world works. And then I think what I find with Charlie is that, when you look at recently, like the Valiant saga, some of you might be familiar with Valiant, and I don't think Charlie's ever read an annual report by Valiant. I mean, he sits on a board of a hospital, but a lot of people sit on hospital boards or have access to different aspects of the healthcare industry. But he had insights about Valiant that a lot of hedge fund guys didn't have, right? And they had armies of people doing research on it. And so you get to wisdom, which is different from just being smart. So I think that's what it gives you. It gives you a certain wisdom. And if you're starting at your age, and sounds like you've already started, which is good, then you can start building up some advantage over your peers over the years.